All right, my name is Ken Kemp. I'm welcoming you to the very first event of, and we're calling it Welcome to My Studio. We're here with Flight to Freedom. I'm the director of communications with Flight to Freedom, and oh my gosh, here they come, Adiana. They're just coming in like crazy. Let's give them a couple minutes. We're up to half of our crowd already is here, so this is very cool. Yes, now I can see. Yes, I can see Angela. She's getting ready to welcome us, and let's. In fact, why don't you just stay right there, Angela, because we've got a great crowd. You know what, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give you a couple of instructions before we get started. We're excited about this presentation, and we want this to be interactive. We want you to be participating with us in this. First thing I want to do is I want to introduce Angela's daughter, Adiana, to you. Adiana, wave to everybody. They're all watching. And why don't you just say hi and identify yourself a little bit for us, Adiana. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Adiana. I'm the second born, and I think the favorite of my wonderful mother, Angela, and I'm so excited you guys are here. Thank you so much for coming. I promise you, you're in for a load of entertainment and just adorableness because my mom's the coolest. So thanks again for being here.
Well done, Adiana. Well done. And where are you?
I'm in Los Angeles, California. Hollywood.
Sweet. And I'm out in the Inland Empire. Both you and I are in Southern California. And of course, we all know that Angela and her studio are in Dallas. Now, I want you all to maybe put the cursor on your screen. You'll see you see a little menu at the bottom, and you're going to see a chat screen. And we want you to kind of talk to us, and we want you to give a message to Angela. Now, you're going to see the option of giving a message. I'd like you to send it to Adiana because we don't want Angela to be distracted. We also have an opportunity for you to give us your questions. And as we participate together, we're going to fire some questions at Angela as we go. We got lots of material. You're going to just really love this next hour. And so I think we're ready. Castell, would you turn on the camera? And let's see, Angela. And Angela, you welcome us to your studio.
You bet. I am so excited. Come in. Welcome to my studio.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, take a look around, everybody. And Angela, you tell us what we're looking at.
Well, this is where the magic happens. At least it's magic for me. So, bright, happiness, lots going on in here. And I think you see the very essential massage chair here. Yeah, I'm in the studio because I get lots of aches in my neck and shoulders after sculpting long hours.
And then there's somebody that you kind of say hello to every time you walk in. Tell us who it is.
Every single time I walk into the studio, I say, hello, Mother. I love you. Let's sculpt today. So this is my mother, Kathleen J. Smith, and just the most supportive, loving educator who managed to find the star within everybody she knew.
So nice. So nice. All right, why don't you get yourself comfortable in there, because we're going to get a chance to look around and we want to get a nice close-up look at you, Angela, and I want you to welcome our folks. The numbers just keep rolling in. And it looks like a good number of folks are joining us. In fact, this group has actually exceeded my hopes and my expectations. Some of you know that we have had an annual event, and we call it Art of Freedom, and we've had two fantastic events. We had another one planned for this fall, and then COVID came along, didn't it, Angela? And
yes.
And now we've had to postpone that. We're pushing it off into the spring, and we want you all to join us there if you're in the Dallas area. But Angela, why don't you look right in the camera and say hello to everybody, to all your friends. I think you know a lot of these folks.
Oh, yes. Actually, hello. I want to give some shout outs here. Let's see. So I know Alan and Jill, I think it is 1 a.m. where you are. And I know, Alan, you said you're going to be wearing a night robe and having a glass of champagne.
Where are they? Where are they?
They are in Great Britain. So hello, Alan,
my gosh.
and Jill,
nice.
and Archie is in Canada. I'm not sure what time it is where you are, Archie. Joe and Jim, hello. I'm hugging you. You're in Chicago. And Chris and Phil are in Colorado. We have, oh my goodness, Mark Javier. He's in Wisconsin. Who am I missing? Cousins, brothers, everybody. So
all right,
hello.
we fixed it so Angela didn't get distracted by it, but the comments are coming in like crazy. They're coming in from all over the place. I see Wisconsin and we see all your friends with lots of exclamation points, and everybody's talking about how excited they are to be here. Hey, you know what? We want to take just a really quick poll. It's just appeared on your screen. We just want to know where you are. So would you just real fast, I'm going to hit launch poll, and just go ahead and put a little click mark. Yeah, here they come. Here they come. Oh my gosh, they're all coming in. Wow. Well, I don't know if, yeah, man, we're getting real time. In fact, we got 75% of you have answered. Just a few more. Tell us.
We've got Jim in Northern California.
Oh,
Rick,
yeah.
Oh, Rick in Naples, Florida. I see that.
Well, okay. Well, this will be a little surprise to you, Angela. Almost everybody's answered. 25% are in the Dallas area. And then another 8% are in Texas. And then in the Western US, we have 30% of our people are from the Western United States. Got 5% from the Northeast. We got 5% from the Southern states, and then 17% from the Midwest. So we have people tuning in from all across America. And guess what? Almost 8 or 9% of our people are from outside the USA. So is this cool or what?
What was the percentage outside the US?
8%. 8%.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Here, I can share the results with everybody. Everybody gets to see it. And did it pop up on your screen?
It did, but I just see,
Can you see?
I see the United States. That's it.
Okay. It's not filling your whole screen, but we'll get that for you later, Angela. So let's just talk a little bit about what's going to happen here. We're going to cover 4 topics with Angela today. And first of all, we're going to talk about where she gets her ideas. It's the point of conception. And when Angela gets an idea, then she makes a plan. She's going to tell us how she plans out her work. And then we're going to get right there where she does the actual sculpting. Now, you may think that she just starts with a piece of clay and starts sculpting, but there's a lot of preparation that goes in before she even hits that clay. And then afterwards, we're going to explain a little bit how we get from a clay sculpting to a bronze statue. We're going to give you a little bit of an intro on how all that goes. Does that sound like what we're going to do, Angela?
Did
I get it right?
Yes, you got it. You can give a tutorial now.
And then, again, feel free to throw those questions in there. I'm so glad I have Adiana. She's watching all this, and we're going to make sure that we download all of these good comments to save for a little bit later. But Angela, let's just start talking about where your ideas come from. And I think while you're just introducing Sunshine Every Day, I'm going to put Sunshine Every Day on the screen for everybody to see. Okay, just take me a minute. So you go ahead and start telling us about Sunshine Every Day.
Okay, so Sunshine Every Day was, my goodness, this idea came to me right at the onset of the pandemic, right? Not at the onset. I mean, we were well into it by this point. And I thought, I was really frightened, as I think a lot of us were. And I thought, what can I do? What can I create that could possibly help people feel unafraid when they look at it and reawakened? And oh goodness, what more could I sculpt than an adorable little girl?
There she is.
Yes, I asked some dear friends, Ron and Victoria, if I could borrow their precious 3-year-old daughter, Vivian, and they said yes. And although, because we were in the middle of COVID, I wasn't able to have Vivian here in the studio, Victoria, her mother, took all the photographs I needed and measurements and sent them to me. And so I sculpted Vivian here in the safety of my studio. And she is life-size here, but then I've also made her in a smaller size. But the idea is that she's very windblown from the back. She's being pushed forward, by this aggressive wind. But this brave, radiant little girl is just embracing all the glory of the sun, as are the flowers. The sunflowers and the daisies are turning their faces to the sun as well. And I don't know if you can see, she's standing on a rainbow. And that is because after the storm of this pandemic passes, we will see the sunshine again.
Yeah, I was going to say, when Angela describes her work, she says, the freedom of spirit is my work's purpose, to uplift and inspire feelings of pure love and joy. And I think Sunshine Every Day just totally captures that. And you know what? I did skip a picture. I wanted you to tell a little bit about how this picture is your first studio. How can that be, Angela?
Oh, yes. Okay. So, well, I introduced you to my mother when we came in, and
Yes.
she just from the very beginning helped me love art. And of course, I think because she felt that it was something I showed a gift for. And so we had this really large pine tree outside of our house in Pennsylvania. And my mother went into this pine tree, parting the branches, and bared the trunk of this pine tree so that the branches would be just above her head and still cascade to the floor around her. And it was such a large pine tree that they would then close, and it formed this little room inside the pine tree. And so this little room was my studio. My mother put a chair, table and little chairs in there, and a shovel. And I was able to dig up the Pennsylvania clay earth and just sculpt all these little creatures and monsters. And
That's where it all started.
That is where it started. So welcome to my first studio on the pine tree, and then here in Dallas.
And then I know that Sunshine Every Day was kind of the beginning of another, maybe your most current inspiration. And we want you to, I want you to just tell everybody where this one came, how the idea for this one was hatched, and what we're looking at here with Bridge of Brotherhood.
Right. Okay. So Bridge of Brotherhood. This was right after Sunshine Every Day, when the racial tensions and protests were really running rampant, and they really rattled me. I was trying to understand, what my role could be to try to create a message of positivity and hope for the future. And I thought, my goodness, if I could sculpt something that shows the beauty of the hearts and the minds of our young people, and that the future of this world is in their hands. That's what I wanted to do. And so I came up with this idea of little boys on a bridge that they had constructed themselves. And at first I thought, well, maybe I'd get different boys from as many cultures as possible. But I thought, no, I'll just grab 3 and have one be a little Black boy, another little white boy, and another little Asian boy. So in here you see the little boy in the middle is a Black boy, and to his right, as you're looking at the sculptures, or on his left side is a little white boy, and then the other side an Asian boy. And I did have one model here in the studio, so they're all age 5, but one model did the modeling for the 3, actually for the measurements. His name is Naveed. He lives here in Dallas. And then I had wonderful assistance too of this fantastic intern, Bella, and she helped me because this was a big project. It's life size.
Nice. And then the bridge has got a special story behind it too, right? Those sticks and the bridge across from the 2 stones there.
Oh, sure.
I think you told me that. Yeah, go ahead.
What did I tell you?
I think you told me that they built that themselves. They built it together. That was their bridge. Did I get that right?
Yes, absolutely. That's the idea. So it's meant to look like a bridge that these little boys constructed themselves. And so you can't necessarily see in the photograph, but it's all sculpted out of clay, but the branches look like they're twined together. And then there are little creatures. There's a squirrel and a frog and butterflies and a hummingbird. So
That is just awesome.
Quite delightful.
Now, I'll never forget when I met you, and I'll bet you everybody on this call that has met you personally can tell an Angela story. I've got mine, and I remember you first when you introduced yourself as a sculptor, and I think it's the first time I've ever met anyone who said they're a sculptor. And then you asked me a question. You said, "Ken, do you like realism?" And I thought, well, yes, but you had to kind of explain, and you explained to me that your niche is really realism. How about telling us a little bit about what realism is for you?
Right. Okay, good. So these are just some quick examples. This is an abstract sculpture. And can we get the next one up?
Yep.
There.
Yep.
Okay. Impressionism. So this is where the artist, of course, it can be painting or sculpture, makes an impression of what they see in nature, but they don't detail it out. Cubism, surrealism, so just far-fetched, like fantasy. And this is realism. This is
And
not my
now
sculpture.
this is realism. Yeah.
Right, a super cool sculpture though. So this is a really wonderful example of realism, and that's what I do. So I do figurative representational realism.
Yes, you do. And here's an example of your realism. And we're going to learn a little bit more about this piece right there in your studio. But tell us a little bit about this one.
Right. Well, this one in the studio, I actually only have the head. Sorry, Brooke. Brooks, if you're watching, Brooks is my little cousin, and he. There you go. I see Annalisa. So yes, my little cousin modeled for this. So this is a really neat story. Jim, friend and client, now turned friend in Northern California, contacted me about 2 years ago, believe it or not, and with this, story. He said, Angela, I'm a new empty nester, and I've been doing a landscaping project, and I'm removing a lot of shrubbery. And as I've done this, I have just found one sports ball after another, and I have collected this incredible pyramid of sports balls that just bring back such precious memories of all the fun that my kids had here in the in our home, in our yard. Is there something you could do? So, believe it or not, it took about 2 years to come up with the idea, and here he is. And since Jim didn't specifically want one of his 3 children to be the model, he left it up to me, and I was quite excited to ask my cousin Annalise if I could borrow one of her hilarious, adorable, sports-loving boys. And so for this particular sculpture, I got Brooks, and he's age 6 here. So Brooks came here to the studio. I measured him, we worked together, and this is life size of him bounding forward on this ball.
Yes, he is. All right. Well, as your host, I just had a panic attack. I thought, oh man, I forgot to hit the record button. So I had to go out a little bit, and thank you, Lord. This thing started automatically. So we have a recording now. We do have a recording. I wouldn't have said anything about this, except I can now. We have a recording of you standing at the door and welcoming us, and we're going to be able to share this with the whole world. It's so cool. Well, that's the way your ideas came together. It started with that pine tree, and then the background of how these ideas come together. But then you make a plan, Angela, and we want to get into that plan. I think you have someone there you want to introduce us to tell us about how you get the planning going.
Yes, I do. Okay, so Alexander. So choosing Alexander.
Yes, there's Castell, our cameraman. And we're glad to meet him. We want to introduce him to everybody. And okay, who do you have there?
This is Alexander Stotland, and he has worked with me in the studio. He's very much an artist himself, which is fantastic. So we have really great communication in here. He's also helped me out by modeling. So one of the sculptures I did was of a boy, the same age as Alexander, but it was a commissioned sculpture, and that little boy lives in Bend, Oregon, so I couldn't have him here. So Alexander modeled for him because he's essentially the same size. So when I have my composition in mind, I know the model I'm going to use, and of course the pose he's going to be in, I start with a lot of measurements. So these are calipers. And
Angela, let me interrupt you just for a second, because I think everybody would like this. If you would stand back and get good social distance between you and Alexander and make sure he's there. And then Alexander, if you could take off your mask, and Castell, if you could give us a nice close up, and Alexander, give us that $1 million smile. Okay. Just like you're modeling. Yeah, there it is. Get in a little closer for us, Castell. Yeah, hello, Alexander. I think everybody loves seeing you. Okay, write some notes in. Tell everybody tell us what you think of our model for today. All right, put that mask back on and proceed. Tell us how that caliper works.
Thanks for that. Okay, so these calipers they're ratio calipers. So right now I have them set at 2, which means everything that I measure right here will measure, it translates exactly to half that size on this end. So Alexander's face, the length of his face is this long in life size, and that is how long his face would be half life size. So we did a lot of these measurements, didn't we? And then I used a tape measure as well. And then whenever I take photographs, I take photographs level in the front and go the whole way around, and he just faced forward. Then I go underneath and do the same thing, rotating around him. And then I get on a ladder and go around and take them all the way around to get, of course, the 360. And then Alexander holds his pose. Do you remember what your pose was like? You were down on the ground, you were leaning. Or he had to hold that pose for a long time, for many days. And do you remember what we used to do to be able to give you a break with the songs?
I think it was like 3 songs in between.
Yes, exactly. So we would do 3 song, 2 song. I got to sculpt for 3 songs, and then Alexander got to rest for 2 songs. And then I would sculpt for 3 songs, and he would rest for 2 songs. So that's how we did that.
And then, you know what, show us that little chart you keep, because Angela, when I look at your stuff, I go, oh my gosh, those perspectives are absolutely perfect. And I kind of had this idea that it just sort of happens because you're this natural artist, which you are, but there's more to it than that. And get nice and close so people can at least see your notes on how you do measurements for the pieces that you do. Can you get a little closer for us, Castell? And so we can see that.
These are measurements of a little boy, Kellen, who was 7 at the time. And right here, so for example, when I measured, I did sculpt him life size. So I measured the length of his face, and then I took the points of my caliper, put him here, and draw a line in between. And this is another measurement of his head that I like to take. Some of the most important points of reference for me are the distance of the clavicle to the belly button, the width of the shoulders, the belly button to the crotch, and crotch to knee to the floor. But you see there are a lot of measurements here.
Wow. Okay, why don't you get comfortable again, and I'm going to put up a couple of pictures of some more models that you use. Adiana, have we got any questions? Did anybody put a question in? All right,
actually,
good. Why don't you put the question out there, and I think Angela can hear us. Go ahead.
Yes, so Ayush Saha, I'm sorry if I didn't say your name right, wanted to know how were you able to balance the center of mass so it wouldn't tip over on having a ball?
Oh my goodness. Okay, who asked that question?
Ayush Saha.
Oh, Ayush. Okay, hi, Ayush. I think we need to turn it around so it's facing. Okay, there we go. So Ayush, that actually is what they're going to do at the foundry. So I sculpted the sculpture of the little boy on top of the ball, where gravity is pulling it. Well, basically the center of gravity is his foot on the top of the center of the ball. And then I sculpted the other balls individually. And so interestingly, Jim the one who this is originally for, he said, Angela, I feel like it looks like he's falling back. And I'm not sure, but I think I want him going forward, and I think it's a more positive energy. And so I got into Photoshop and I said, you know what we can do at the foundry? We can cast him as he is and rotate him forward. He'll be structurally reinforced inside, no problem at all. And honestly, I think it's a much better sculpture this way. I love it. I love the energy. I think it's much more positive. It shows this boy bounding forth. Oops, what happened?
Yeah, good. So, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And we've got some more sketches to show too, which kind of illustrates some of what we're talking about. So why don't you tell us about these sketches, Angela?
Yes. So here we have original sketches that I did for some ideas to propose to clients. The bottom right is Joyful Empowerment, for originally commissioned for Texas Christian University. And upon approving the sketch, then I developed the piece. And to the left, you see a ship that I did for a shopping center in Oxnard, California. And it does have 2 life-size children on it, and it's in the center of a fountain. So these were the designs that I sent to the developers, or in the case of the girl on the globe, to the university, and got their approval before starting the piece.
I love that little girl on top of the world.
There you go. There's the ship.
And here's the ship and the drawing right next to a coffee bean. That is huge. The thing is huge.
It is. It is. I actually, oh, okay. And then here we go. This is called Whirlwind. And whenever I do a sculpture that is a composition that I'm wanting to create, it's because it's an idea I have versus a commission, I choose the model. And in this case, I chose Kaya and Annabelle, 2 little 7-year-old girls. And you can see they were in the front yard twirling, and I took a lot of pictures, and I think we got their energy.
Yeah, you got, I mean, the hair, just the body position, and all that, just it's amazing. So when you pick a model, I like the way you put this on this slide. You're looking for a model who conveys the feeling that you're trying to convey.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. And I guess I'll tell you more about that in a little while when we look at another sculpture. But sometimes I have a concept in my mind, sort of like sunshine every day, and I don't know who the model is going to be, but then maybe see somebody or think of somebody I've known before or have seen, and try to get that. It's almost always a child, get that child to be my model.
And you capture it. Well, here's that scene, and wow. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love this
yes.
one too. Tell about this one.
Here we have Noah, and you know what? I saw that appear on my screen. That was Glenda. Oh my gosh, my heart is melting. She said that she has Whirlwind in her garden. She does in Hawaii. Hello, Glenda. Oh my goodness. So yes, this is Loving Learning, and this is Noah and Kiara, and their father actually wanted me to do this sculpture as a surprise for his wife. But then whenever they learned how lengthy the process really is, they decided, no, it's a good enough gift to have it not be a surprise. We'll let her be a part of it. So this was neat. The 2 kids were homeschooled, so they were able to be in my studio pretty much every day through the process. It was great.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, and
look at that face.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
So this is Guardians of the Nest, and this is Luca. So his grandparents commissioned me to sculpt their 5 grandchildren, life size. He's one of the 5, and it's such a beautiful. That I think that's really the best part of what I do, is getting to know my subjects. And I have found that it's so important not only to get to know them, but to have the opportunity to fall in love with them as well. Because then that way I'm able to sculpt their inner beauty through their outer beauty. And I went to Bend, where Luca lives, and stayed with his grandparents and got to know him and his sister. Those were the two I was sculpting there. And I was so just mesmerized and it just breathtaking by how loving and Luca is with his mentally disabled aunt who lives there. He's just a natural caretaker. He does so much with her and just in the most giving, selfless way. And I thought, my gosh, okay, that's the way I've got to sculpt Luca. So I will have Luca as a guardian. And so here we have Luca with his dog.
Yes, he's the guardian of
the dog, who's the guardian of the nest.
The nest.
Yes. So he's teaching his dog to be as caring as he is.
That's so sweet.
And interesting, I do want to say this is the sculpture Alexander modeled for to help me out. So I don't know.
Perfect.
If you remember Sandra.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We got to meet him. All right, Adiana, have you got any more questions for us?
Yes. So I've had a question from an anonymous attendee asking, what kind of clay do you use? And do you ever use solvents?
Do I use solvents?
And what sort of clay are you using?
Oh, okay. I use plastilina, so oil-based clay. And the only time I use any kind of solvent is whenever I'm trying to smooth out a piece. So sometimes I'll just use baby oil, which is not a solvent, and that does the trick. But other times I do use mineral spirits and get that nice smooth surface. And
I think that, go ahead, Adiana.
Sorry. And Thea Sylvia says that dog looks partly Tigger inspired, maybe, which is her awesome family dog. And then Dan and Sunny are saying hello, and that, you know, they have joyful empowerment and they love it, and they want to put forward their idea of a child flying, a sculpture of a child flying, and they're sending you some photos of their great grandson.
Yes,
an idea. Everybody's really excited.
Sweet.
That's fantastic. Oh,
Sweet.
you know I'd love to sculpt that.
And you've also got compliments from Jan Reagan on how clean your studio is.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you very much. Jan actually has a really cool tool that I use as well. And since I'm so organized, I might be able to find it and show you where it is. He's a sculptor and he manufactures his own tool.
Oh, nice. Nice. And I know that the clay is pretty hard, and you gotta, don't you warm it up, Angela? Is that how it works?
I do. I have some clay warmers, and I can take you over there if we're ready for that. Oh,
you gotta tell this story. You caught this guy airborne.
Yes. So
and tell everybody who this is.
This is my son, Federico, who has definitely been a model for me over the years. Although I will say, as he's 19 now, and I think the house would break if he were to try to leap from his bed to the beanbag now.
That's so good. Well, okay, so we've gone from the ideas where ideas are conceived, and then we've talked a little bit about all the planning that's involved in getting going. And now let's talk about the sculpting. And so let's take a look at some of the things you're working on right now, right there in the studio.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. So
I love these comments coming through. How about you, Adiana? They're amazing. I can see them. And we didn't think that Angela was going to see them because we thought, oh no, she'll just get so distracted. But she's doing a fantastic job, even though she's watching all these wonderful comments come through.
It's actually really fun. It's not distracting at all. It's very encouraging.
No, you're doing great. Real quick, Kathy Holman says you should do a little boy in a Superman costume flying. Kathy, you wouldn't believe it. She has it. It's called I Am Superman. It's a little boy in a Superman suit. And it's the best thing in the world.
There you go.
Awesome.
All right, go ahead, Angela.
Okay, so now whenever I have the idea sketched out and I know how it's going to be, and I've got my measurements, I know the pose, I've got my photographs, I build an armature. So of course, Jan and Mark, I'm talking to you, but this is what you do too. So this is aluminum wire. It's actually a very thick gauge, so it's strong, but because it is aluminum, it's really malleable. So strong, but very malleable. And when I built the armature, so it's basically just like an internal skeleton out of this metal armature, I use aluminum foil, and I use the foil to bulk out the masses. So usually I use it for the head, the rib cage, the hips, sometimes the legs, depending on the size of the sculpture, but I usually get pretty twiggy little kids in here, so I kind of don't use a lot of foil on their legs. And then when that armature is ready, I've got my clay warmers here because these bins right here are actually filled with clay, but the clay is cold. So it's hard for me to work with it, especially whenever I'm just starting a composition. I usually work at a very fast pace, and there's so much that I see that I'm trying to rough in. So I like to have warm clay for that. And we've got these turkey warmers, and the clay is really soft. I keep it at an extremely low temperature, and it's very easy to work with. And since this is oil-based clay, I'm able to use it again and again and just recycle it. So whenever I'm done with the sculpture and I've made the mold, I can recycle the clay. So with the clay and the armature, I will then create a sculpture, and this, a special shout out, oh my goodness, to Pete and Jackie. This is their daughter Shelby, so loved sculpting their beautiful daughter. This is called Mariposa Azul, or blue butterfly. And so whenever I do a sculpture, I need to grab my glasses. Whenever I do a sculpture in clay, I always have to think about how I want it to translate in bronze. And so this is where I pay special attention, of course, not only to the composition, but to the surface texture as well. So here, the skin is as smooth as I could manage to get it. Oh, a shout out to Tom and Tamara too, because oh my goodness, Tom works on my bronzes, and I know that I try really hard, Tom, to get the skin very smooth. But so skin is smooth, and then usually there's more texture in the cloth. Something that's pretty fun that I like to do, and important actually, is I will sculpt more often than you think, like this. So I am holding the mirror, and of course right now I'm holding the phone with the camera, but I will sculpt in a mirror when it gets to the point of the details of the face, because I want to make sure that the eyes are looking right at me. When I'm sculpting a sculpture and I'm looking at it front on, so much of the time, of course, you know, a lot of the flaws will escape me because I'm so used to looking at it. But of course, you know, if you give yourself a different perspective, and in this case, literally I'm flipping it, all of the errors jump out at me, and so I'm able to correct those, but I do correct by standing behind and sculpting this way. And speaking of the eyes, Shelby has light brown eyes, so I sculpted her eyes kind of a medium depth, the iris a medium depth. And this is an old clay that I did. I've kept the face, but you see the foil is inside still. So she's a little dirty and a little beat up, but because she's already been molded. But she had blue eyes. So I sculpted the iris not as deeply so that it reflects more light and appears like a light eye. Whereas conversely here, shout out to Lynn. I think you're going to recognize this cutie pie. Here we have Julian, who has dark eyes. And this is a smaller, you can see the size. This is half-life size. But I sculpted his iris much more deeply so that it appears like a dark eye.
So cool. Real quick, we've gotten a few comments just wanting to be able to see my mom a little better. Ken, is there a way that we can pin her so that it doesn't keep going back to us and just stays on her? And also Linda Septian says hello, and that she has to get one of your amazing works. You're the one that's flying. Gary and Margie send their love. Sandra Hunter wants to know what different types of tools you use. So if you want to show off your tools a little bit too.
And
start
Martin, Brenda, and Barry and Margie, oh my gosh, melt me.
Everyone's really excited. There's lots of questions and comments.
Okay, these are my tools. I actually have a lot more in the cabinets, but these are kind of my favorites. And look at how beautiful this tool is. I got this in China. This is a handmade tool, and I have quite a few of these. So to answer your question, my favorite tools are these wooden loop tools that I got in China. So I'm not sure how we can find them here, but next best would be tools that I get at Sculpture Depot in Loveland, Colorado. They've got fantastic tools there, and I really like the wooden handle loop tools. Do we lose Ken?
Nice. No, I'm here. Okay, so we're ready. You know what? It was fantastic, and thank you, Ariana, for the tip on Zoom, so that I can pin the thing on Angela. And I apologize if I've been sneaking in and distracting from our being able to look at Angela. But you know what? Go ahead and have a seat, Angela, and I'm gonna fire up because we've got a little video clip to show now. We've gone from sculpting. Now we're moving into the whole business of once you have this thing sculpted and we're ready to send it off to the foundry, we've got to do something that is a little disturbing. Actually, I probably should warn folks that this might be a little disturbing, but we're gonna witness a little amputation here on the video, and you can describe it, Angela, as you see it. Here, can everybody see? Yeah.
Yes, if everybody can see this. So this is having a ball, and in order to mold a clay sculpture, I have to cut it up into parts, and we do this so my assistant here, Rodolfo, we've worked together for years. He's wonderful. We decide where we need to cut the sculpture to facilitate the wax pour, and then eventually, of course, for the bronze. We're still working on figuring out the best cuts, aren't we, Tom? Speaking as someone who knows very well. But yeah, so this is what we're doing. We're cutting off the arms, and then we cut off the head. And of course, all of the balls were sculpted individually as well.
So do we have time for a quick question?
Yes, we do.
Megan Soustad wants to know, did you sculpt the large boat in your studio as well? And how was that transported?
Oh my goodness. Hey, Megan. You know, I rented a studio at that time from a friend, Barvo, who's also a sculptor, and sculpted it there. So part of the boat was sculpted. The rest of it was sort of found objects. So there was an old junky boat, and that actually is part of the boat. And then I added the columns. So I sculpted the columns on that and sculpted the masthead and sculpted the children in the boat. So that was done in a larger studio that I rented. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Let's take a look now at the process of how we go from that clay sculpting to get it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you need me on this. I'm gonna show them the mold here.
Good. Okay. All right, we're back at you.
Okay. So I think we need to flip it. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So this, believe it or not, is Bridge of Brotherhood. And you see we removed the head of the boy in the middle. We removed this little boy's head. This one we didn't need to remove. We removed all of the feet and the hands. And those are being individually molded. So this that you see dripping all over here, this wonderful gooey yellow stuff, is silicone. And believe it or not, it's dry. So this is just the first coat. And I want to show you something really precious. So down here, I think you can see the feet to the squirrel that we removed to be molded. I have to say that my wonderful intern, Bella Baird, sculpted that swirl. And she also sculpted the frog, which is not here because it's just the leg, but she's a
Oh, there we
really
go. All right, we're
talented.
back.
Oh, did you lose us?
Just for a second, you froze, but thankfully you're back. You're back with us.
Okay, good. So did you see the feet of the squirrel?
We did. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now this is just the first coat of silicone on the bridge of Brotherhood. And in fact, if you can just see the difference in scale, of course, half life size here, and then the life size bridge of Brotherhood. And then over here, here's one of the heads. So this is the boy off to the side with one coat of silicone. And then we've created a seam. And this seam is created with Dixie cups that are opened and then pinned into place. And this seam has to be made because when we're thinking about pouring a wax, we have to think of two halves. This is what they do at the foundry. And so this is a division line for two halves of a mold. And then we cut these holes in this seam and put these little plastic buttons in because these are going to act as the locking system. So here is the other head, the one in the middle, with the seam and the buttons inside, but with a second coat of silicone. So first and then next, and then right over here. And then, all of these are some of the different parts of the branches we've had to cut off. I can recognize the squirrel there. Here's the frog. So they're all being individually molded. And right here, we have the mother mold. So you see the silicone mold. And this is a hard material it's called freeform. Some sculptors use plaster, others use plastic. And I really like this. It's sort of almost like a paper mache, but really durable. And it is a protective mold that holds securely the silicone. And you can see when I open it, these are two of the feet of Bridge of Brotherhood. And you can see the keys, so the locking system, and then you can see how the toes are registered inside of the mold. So this, Ken, is when we go now to, actually, this is what I ship. So if you imagine, I ship this to the foundry, and all of these parts are going to look like this. The whole Bridge of Brotherhood is going to be cut into pieces and shipped in molds like this to the foundry.
Wow. All right, let's go ahead and move to some pictures now that you can describe tell us what's going on here. And there we go.
Okay, so the mold that I showed you just now, the mother mold, that's what you see in the top left corner. A wax worker is pouring in hot wax into that mold. So remember the mold I showed you where you can see the toes and the keys. So just imagine that we've got that there, and there's a wax worker pouring wax inside. He's coating the inside with a layer of wax that's maybe a 1/4 of an inch thick. And then when the wax cools, he opens the mold and releases that hollow wax sculptured part.
Mm.
And then that hollow wax sculpture part, so imagine the hollow wax feet, get dipped into a large bin of liquid plaster, quickly from there into a bin of glass powder. And so that coats the wax on the inside and outside. And that they do that at the foundry, oh my goodness, I think like 4 or 5 times for a couple of weeks, allowing them to dry each time. And so you see those, they're hanging and drying in the picture on the right.
Mm.
And then they're called shells. So the plaster glass molds that are now encasing a wax part. Those shells are put into a large kiln, and the wax is melted out and replaced with molten bronze. So you can see a foundry worker there with some hot molten bronze pouring it into these, to the shells. It cools, they break off the shell, chisel it off, and now you have a very rough, hollow bronze sculpture part. And then those parts are welded together. The welding seams are.
That's an art in itself, isn't it? I mean, that the horse looks like he needs some work.
Yeah, oh, for sure. My goodness, it's a wonder what they do at the foundry. And this is called metal chasing. So, I just, my hat's off to them. My goodness, it's a real difficult job, and I rely on them tremendously to get good quality. So those seams then are welded or buffed away. And then the sculpture is sandblasted to clean it of all of its surface impurities. And then we go to the next step, which is the patina. And so the patina is a real fine art. This is something that sometimes I'll go and participate in, but usually it's done by a very masterful patineur at the foundry. And a dear friend of mine who is a master patineur, Xochitl, she and I worked together for about 7 years to develop what I like to think of as my signature patina. And I was really wanting something very, buttery and soft like our children. And so we came up with this formula for patinas that give them this real wonderful effect. And it can be, a variation of skin tones, dark to light.
Nice. Now, I think, yes, we're here now. And I'm going to take it off. I'm going to stop share just for a second because there you are. I can't see you though, Angela. Where are you? There you are. Nice. This has been amazing, and I'm so impressed because we've delivered so much, and the time is going fast. We've got a little bit of time left. We're actually doing quite well, but we've gone through the 4 steps now. But there's one more thing we want to talk about, and that is the inspiring story and some of the stories and some of the challenges that you face as an artist. And let me know when you want me to put Lift Her with Butterflies on the screen.
Oh, go. This is great.
Do it right now?
Sure,
Good.
please. Thank you.
All right, good. Okay, here she is.
Lift Her with Butterflies is a sculpture that I created when I was going through a very difficult time in my life about 7 years ago. And I called a friend who was wanting me to sculpt her granddaughter with their dog. And I called her and I said, Susan, I've had this dream of this little girl being just uplifted by this kaleidoscope of butterflies. Would you be okay if I sculpted Macy that way instead? And she said, absolutely. So I went to the studio and was actually in the middle of a commission at the time, but my heart was just so drawn to developing this incredible little girl who I'd had in my dream. And so I sculpted her life size. So I was on the top of a ladder a lot of the time and just kept sculpting these butterflies underneath her and added more and more. And I just couldn't make myself stop. And I've counted them a number of times, but have lost my place each time I try to mark it with duct tape. Like, okay, but they're all over the place. And there are either 276 or 277 butterflies. And I like to think of them as my support system, who really carried me through such a difficult time. And, so that's who I see this little girl as, all of us who have been through a hard time, but have a wonderful support team.
Sweet. All right. This one has a story too.
Yes. So, I like, not all of my sculptures are approved off the bat. And so Gina Grant, the founder and CEO of Women That Soar, gave me a challenge. She wanted me to sculpt the trophy which is a tremendous honor for the Women That Soar Awards program. And it's sort of like the Academy Awards, but it's an awards program for extraordinary women. And so I thought, okay, this is great. And of course, we've talked about, realism, and that I'm a realist, representational, figurative artist. And so, of course, the sketch that I did, even though I knew in my heart it was going to be a no-go, the original one I submitted to her is on the left. And I, even when I submitted it, I was kind of cringing and I thought, oh no, I just know this isn't right. And it wasn't. Gina said, Angela, I don't see myself in that. And Gina's a Black woman. And she said, Angela, I want to see myself. I want a woman in Asia to see herself. I want a woman in Africa, South America, anywhere in the world to be able to see herself. Can't be so precise. And so I then, I thought about it and instead sketched the one on the right. And this is the one she approved. And so this is what I sculpted. And there she is. And honestly, it was such a challenge, but because it's a tremendous departure from my style, but I loved sculpting this piece. And honestly, I do feel like she's me and she's my wonderful friends. And I really believe, I hope every woman can see herself in this.
And this is a great organization. It's huge and attracts women from all over the world. And every year they pick, like I'm going to call it the Woman of the Year, and this is the award.
Yes, and I can show you. I can put it on my screen.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. There we go. Okay. So here
there
she
is. All
Oops,
right, but you
what am I doing wrong?
got to give us landscape. Yeah.
There
we go. There we go.
There she is. So, there she is. So I get to have her right now until they film, and then she'll be on the stage. And this I have not because I've won her, but because
fantastic.
So this is actually the trophy. This is Soaring. So this will be the official award trophy going forward. And last year's recipients did receive this trophy.
All right. You know what? We're just about out of time, but I'm going to ask you, Adiana, do we have any more questions?
Oh, yes. So Gary Burnt wants to know, how do you know how much silicone you need to put on to ensure the mold works?
Oh, it's a formula, parts per gram. So, and you do have to add a hardening agent. Although the first layer, Gary, that I put on is pure silicone. So it actually takes a few days to cure. And sometimes it doesn't even cure until I put the second layer on that does have a hardening agent in it. So I just have to follow the recipe on the container.
Okay, we've got time for one more question.
Okay, Dan Slife was asking, is the mold kept forever or destroyed after however many pours? I answered that, but I thought that might be interesting for you to answer for everyone because it's a good question.
Yes. Hi, Dan and Sunny. Hello. So I do destroy the mold after the limited edition is sold out. So although there are a few sculptures that I reserve APs for my kids, and so I want them to have the opportunity to have an AP, which stands for artist proof. And so those are reserved for them. So if my kids are going to have an artist proof, I won't destroy the mold, but I do destroy it if there will be no artist proofs and the edition is sold out.
Angela, you are a professional on so many levels, including you've done a fantastic job of keeping the pace going and giving us so much great information, which from such a great spirit. I want to thank you on behalf of everybody from Flight to Freedom for your willingness, and you are a co-founder, so you know these people, but for inviting us into your studio and giving this fantastic look. And I think it's important that we say thank you to a couple of folks. We need to say thanks to Castell. This is a beautiful frame right here with the awards standing right next to you. Castell, you did a great job with that. Can you guys believe, all of you folks on this line, this whole thing has been done with an iPhone? That's amazing. It's just unbelievable. And let's say thank you to Alexander. Is he still there?
He is. Alexander.
Yeah.
Mama Tara.
Hey, thanks for showing up. And there's Tara over there. Mom is looking with pride. And then Adiana, you want to just say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for watching our screen and following those comments, getting those questions. Thank you, Adiana. Well done.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. All the great friends, the people who came to watch from Twitch. That's so awesome. Thanks to Costel. Mom, you know that I think you're just the absolute coolest person of all time. So this was so much fun.
Oh,
That is so sweet.
and
That's so
honestly,
sweet.
I want to thank you all too, because I mean, honestly, this is really just my heart. And so the fact that you open yours to it are, what more could I ask for? Honestly, it's just this,
Mhm.
I feel so blessed to have the relationships that I have because of this artwork.
Well done. Well done. And you know, in thanking everyone, I know we all are appreciative of Flight to Freedom as an organization. We want to encourage you to come to our website, and if you feel so moved, we'd love to have you contribute to the cause. We've got a lot of work going on. We're anticipating a great uh, uh, event in the spring that you're going to be hearing about. You all are on our mailing list. We'll keep you in touch, and you'll also want to learn more from Angela's website too, delavegastudios.com. And so we want you to get a look at that. And you are going to get a thank you note in the mail, and it's going to have a link to the recorded version of this fantastic event that we've shared together. And we want to encourage you to feel free to share it with your friends, and let's just get the word out of these great things that are going on. One last word, Angela, look right in the camera and say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. I love you, and I felt the love. Thank you so much.
And thank you from me too, and Adiana, and everybody at Flight to Freedom. You guys all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you guys so much.
Too bad.